Welcome everybody to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. My co-host is Teddy Covers. We got a lot of betting action to give out on this show. A bunch of UFC, a very bettable card tomorrow. Andy Lang will join us first. He's got a prop bet. Well, he's got an actual fight bet for us in the UFC and a prop bet for us in hockey. Gianni the Greek, our second guest, he's got a couple of UFC bets, but we will talk to him about a whole lot more. We'll get his college basketball plays and his NBA plays as well. And Steve Merrill at the end of the show. And guys, are you ready? Steve Merrill has a Ralph Michaels style chart, which has blown my mind. I won my 5% play last night, was a basket away and a meltdown by my Miami Heat from a 5-0 night. Teddy was on the Miami Heat as his 5%. He'll discuss it a little later. He's still bitter and rightfully so. Andy Lang joining us. How are you, Andy?
Doing good. I've got my 5% that goes tomorrow, so I will be I will be in the mindset tomorrow the way you guys were last night. But looking forward to a really, really good weekend. And yes, it is a very bettable weekend of mixed martial arts. Don't want to get everyone too excited, but bare knuckle fighting is tomorrow, Prez.
Never been more pumped. Never in my life.
Let's start a discussion with a fighter who is, about a 10-1 favorite in his bout. That would be Ludovic Klein against AJ Cunningham. I'm seeing him minus 1,000, minus 925, minus 1,050 rounds in this fight, 1.5 to the under. It's not expected to go long. You expect Klein to win. How do you expect him to do it?
Well, this is the theme of this UFC card. There are some monster favorites, and I know Gianni's going to talk about a couple as well. So we'll start with AJ Cunningham, the massive underdog. Heart-wrenching story. His upbringing and his childhood was the stuff of nightmares. So it's awesome to see him get a shot in the UFC. He's taking this on short notice, and he came off of Contender Series, and he got destroyed on Contender Series by a fighter named Stephen Nguyen. And Stephen Nguyen is not that great. And Stephen Nguyen absolutely tore him apart and knocked him out in the second round. Now AJ Cunningham gets a shot in the UFC, and he gets Ludovic Klein, who, I'm not making accusations. I'm just saying that he looked way more muscular and powerful in his last fight than he has in previous fights. And he put it on his opponent, Bahamondes, and he did a lot of damage to Bahamondes. And Bahamondes is a very good UFC fighter. Ludovic Klein's going to knock this guy out. AJ Cunningham doesn't move his head. He gets pieced up, and there is no reason for Ludovic Klein to take this to the ground. He's going to win a stand-up battle. It's going to be a pretty vicious knockout. I'm going to feel bad for AJ Cunningham, but Ludovic Klein is the pick. Let's take him by knockout at a much, much more reasonable price than the money line.
Andy Lang joining us. Andy, true story. I wanted to name my second daughter Ludovic. My ex-wife actually ixnayed that, but I fought hard, man. I fought hard. Okay, speaking of hard, did you watch Carmine's video from yesterday?
I heard about it. Yes, went back and watched it. Yes, it was very entertaining. Absolutely, I did watch it.
I mean, look, dude, shout out, and I need to say this right off the top. Shout out to Carm for getting on here and having the guts to firstly tell people that he does Viagra, and then to secondly explain his, Teddy used the word whack a lot, which gave Dan Alexander a lot of smiles. So an amazing, I think whack is like, I don't think that's what the cool kids call it, Teddy.
I was trying to find something that was appropriate to say on air that, and that was what came to mind. I mean, I didn't even know what he was talking about. It was one of those deals. I mean, that was all spontaneous. We didn't script that at all. But sometimes that makes for good content.
Yeah. Don't tell Carm, but I actually I clipped that video and sent it to every friend I had. Carm was okay doing the show because he's like, well, nobody's in my life. My wife won't find out that I'm telling the story. Oh, yes, she will. Evander Kane will not have a point on Saturday. I need this to be plus money here, Andy. Tell me.
It's not going to be plus money, but it's going to be pretty close. So Evander Kane had a bunch of points at the beginning of the year. He's very much cooled off. I laugh whenever you mention Evander Kane. Oilers fans love the contract that they gave Evander Kane. So we've been cashing all season long on these NHL props on players to not have a point. We're on a 34-16 run in the NHL, and we've been finding these guys that go on these cold streaks. And Evander Kane is on a cold streak, and here's what's been happening: he's been getting points, multiple points in these games. But 5 out of the last 6 teams that he's had a point against were in the bottom 13 in defense in goals allowed. So he's been kind of front running, only getting points against teams like the Blue Jackets and the Coyotes and the Canadiens. He's got a 3-game stretch here, Prez, against the Penguins, the Kraken, and the Bruins. He's got back-to-back situation. So I think we got a 3-game stretch here that we can play Evander Kane to not have a point, and at worst, go 2-1, maybe get 3-0. So this line is not going to be up till later tonight, but I want to get out in front of it because it will 100% be a client play. We did a video on this on the WagerTalk YouTube channel under the lazy line of the week. I think we can play this not 1, not 2, but 3 games in a row. He plays Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. So Evander Kane will not have a point in the next 3 games.
So Lawrence was saying that he hoped for a plus price on this. Is that a reasonable consideration here? The guy hadn't scored a point in 5 games. He didn't have an assist. He didn't have 1 assist in the month of February. All right. And he only scored in 3 of those games. Is that something you can find a plus price on? This guy not to score a point? I mean, someone I've even heard of. So we'll
he was minus 110 in the last game to not have a point. It was a bad opponent, the Blues. I would expect this to probably be around minus 125, minus 130 against really, really good defensive teams where you expect the games to be a little bit more low scoring. So no, we're not going to get plus money on it. But on these plays, Teddy, as if it's below minus 150 and you get these guys that are going 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row without a point, that's fine. It's perfect value. As long as we just keep hitting these, 2 out of the next 3 or 3 out of the next 3, as long as this price is below minus 150, I'm all in on it.
Andy Lang joining us. And Andy, I hate goal bets. Connor McDavid minus whatever to score a goal. When you look at the math on the goal bets or the point bets, if you're taking guys to score a goal or to score a point, those are, in my opinion, horrific bets. There is never value there. The math doesn't work. Connor McDavid minus, 100, he's got to score every single game, and he doesn't. Austin Matthews scored last night. He went 2 or 3 in a row before he got that goal. The fact that you're taking not to score or not to get a point, that's like Andy Lang at the craps table, baby. I'm playing don't pass, and I'm going to take the best odds in the casino, kick back, and watch all you drunk people lose your money. I love it, Andy Lang. Formula One, Bahrain. This Sunday, I am excited about it. I just finished season 6 of Need for Speed. Nothing much has changed. I think it's going to be Red Bull dominating again. McLaren looks good. We'll see what happens with Alpine. Is there any value anywhere, dude, other than Max and that's it?
Yeah, so Max wasn't the fastest in practice, but they were using full power. They just qualified. He's on the pole, so no surprise there. Ferrari looks good. Mercedes look good. Alpine's an absolute fade. They were terrible in testing. They were terrible in practice. They were terrible in qualifying. Look for head-to-head matchups to fade Alpine. I'm not really sure what to make of McLaren. I think they're going to be just outside the Mercedes and Ferrari, but it's Max Verstappen to win. It's fading Alpines. Let's watch this first race and see if we can get some good head-to-head matchups. All my Formula One plays will be up at WagerTalk.com. Never had a losing season in auto racing, and we have a 5% play that is up in UFC right now. We're coming off a 5% win last weekend. Bare knuckle fighting is Saturday night, so you get the 5% play, and I'm going to include the bare knuckle best bet. 2-0. 2-0 bare knuckle lifetime at WagerTalk. So it's going to be a great weekend with Formula One and fights. Looking forward to it.
Andy Lang with the 5% play in UFC this weekend along, including that package, of course, as you mentioned, the bare knuckle fighting play of the week. I do not want to go bare knuckles with either one of you guys, if we can help it.
I do.
Lawrence?
I would like to go bare knuckles with you, Teddy. Look at that beast. 54.10 bicep right there. Andy Lang, what an outstanding job. I mean, Jesus, Andy is so good at what he does. We're so lucky to have him. Teddy, I'm going to set up your What Did Bettors Learn. So last night I had a 5% play on the Dallas Stars. You had a 5% play on the Miami Heat. I actually had a 3% play on the Miami Heat, but who cares about my 3%? So you lost that play and you got robbed. And I know we've spoken about this before where you're like, hey, I'd rather just lose the bet, lose the bet by 40 early and be done with the game. Do you still feel that way? Because I think every client who bought your play last night feels like you were on the right side of that play. They were down by 2 with 10 seconds to go, and they ended up screwing you. And yet they did cover the line move. So where are you at mentally with that? They covered the line move. A bunch of your clients might have won. Some might have pushed. And I feel like you were clearly correct. Where are you at with that?
No, Miami wasn't a right side last night. Not even maybe. They trailed the whole game. They weren't a wrong side either, as you mentioned. It was a 2, and I released at +5. It closed as high as +6.5. Denver. There were questions as to whether Denver was going to sit anyone, and no one sat on the second of back-to-backs for Denver, even though Jamal Murray didn't play a whole lot before he was pushed to the sidelines. But they certainly weren't a right side. They weren't a wrong side either. Like many games, it came down to the wire against the spread. Jimmy Butler hits a bucket with 10 seconds to play. It's a 2-point game. What has to happen for you to lose in that scenario? Well, there's got to be a perfect scenario. You have to foul. Denver hits 2 free throws. You need an empty possession. You need enough time on the clock. You need another foul. And Denver hits 2 more free throws, which is exactly what happened. Denver hits 2 free throws. Terry Rozier turns the ball over. No shot, down 4. No time run off the clock. Just enough time for Miami to have the foul again. 2 more free throws. A 2-point deficit turns into a 6-point loss. And the 5-star loses. Now, look, my NBA 5% have been great. They're 26-12 since 2022. But this is the second one in 3 weeks that I've lost by a point or less with a tough final 10 seconds. They had the Magic against the Bulls first half, where they were up by 8 with 45 seconds to go. Again, I needed to be perfect. 3-pointer, empty possession, 3-pointer. That's what happened. Last night, not as bad, but comparable. And look, it happens. I get it. We don't win all the close decisions. You got to be happy if you win more than half of them. But when the big plays go down like that, it's freaking frustrating. Yeah. I was frustrated last night, Prez. That doesn't happen every day. Unfortunately, it happened to me last night. I hope there were a handful of clients that were able to win or push with Miami against the closing number when you released early in the day. Well, it wasn't the closing number, and that is a big fat L. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you on the frustration, and I didn't even know what your play was. I didn't look, so my apologies. I actually had a night of stress, so I just kind of sat in my stressful bucket and prayed for my plays. But I did, on the bright side, look, we share similar clients, and Carm as well. Carm, we had that promo out, Viagra 69 yesterday. Carm went 4-0. I went 4-1. Oh. So, a bunch of WagerTalk clients did well, and you've been carrying your weight, bro. That is for sure. You're going to lose some games along the way, but you are kicking ass. Speaking of kicking ass, the only man I know who shorted Bitcoin, Gianni. How are you, my friend?
Never better. And based on the charts, you have a shot of it getting to about as high as about 116. That's the highest it'll get to during this run, pretty much. That's what I'm prepared for, to short up until 116. Like, that's how I always level into my trades. I go into a trade expecting it to go against me. I don't expect it to go with me. So I've already set aside I'm going to level in 6 times if it gets to 116. I've already leveled in 3 times. I'm in about 50,000 short so far, and I've allocated, I put up to close to 100 dimes to short it if it gets up to that risk level. If it gets up to that risk level, I'll be selling shit to short it. If it gets that high in the risk level.
Think there's a shot for Bitcoin to go to 116?
That's what my chart says. That's what I'm prepared for. The worst case scenario for me, that it gets to 116 from here. That's worst case for me.
Well, I will tell you, as a guy who understands the short market, regretfully, I will be cheering for you to lose your shit. And
of course. And the truth is, right now it's opportunity cost. It's costing me money. Like, you're on the right side of the trade right now. Up until now, I've tied up, like I said, first 10,000, then 20,000, now 50 dimes almost. That's opportunity cost to me that I'm not investing elsewhere. So I've been on the wrong side of the trade for the last few months. That's facts. But I trust my charts and I trust the way I trade. And I just got to, do what I do. So like I said, I was prepared for it to get to 116, and we'll see if it gets there. I don't think it does, but that's what I'm prepared for.
Gianni, if it could be a win-win, because if my number is 100. When it gets there, I am selling 1/3 of my Bitcoin.
Most people will. Most will.
So I'm free rolling already, but I'll be extra free rolling, like poutine.
Yeah, at 100K, you really should sell and just keep a little, just in case. But you made so much money. It's like, what do you want? You know what I mean? You made the trade, you scored on it, cash out and move on to the next. But like, keep some for the long term since you believe in the project.
Teddy?
Yeah, let me jump in real quick, because to me, if you wait to 100K, everyone's going to sell at 100K. It was 96, 97. No, Lawrence?
No, because right now you're in a situation where BlackRock, Street, Fidelity, these guys are holding billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. And everything I'm reading, they're holding for a long while. And so long as those 3 are holding, I think it's tough to sell. I mean,
that's what ruined the project. Real quickly, that's what's destroyed Bitcoin. Allowing the whole concept of Bitcoin was for BlackRock and those to not be the ones that control it all.
I get it, but they're not idiots.
That rabbit hole now that the institutions got a hold of that, it's no longer the people's money. If you really think it's what it was created for, it's no longer that anymore.
Gianni, that's how it goes.
To extract money from the poor to the rich, now that they got involved. That's all it is. That's all they're going to do. It's a way to extract money from people that don't know what they're doing. I feel bad because Bitcoin did have a chance to become real money for normal people around the world. And the greed of normal people that wanted to see the BlackRocks buy it up so their bags could get pumped up, the dream will never be realized.
Just to put everything into perspective, Gianni, Teddy and I have spoken about the fact that we both watched Alexander, the Making of a God. I just watched the story of Mehmet, the Rise of the Ottoman Empire. So I get what you're saying, but human nature and greed 400 years ago meant you were getting impaled. Today, it means you lose a little bit of money. I think we've come a far way in this world today. We're always going to be greedy. We're always going to be immoral, but at least we're not impaling people anymore. We're just stealing their public money. Okay, UFC, Duncan. Wait, Duncan.
I had to get creative this week, Prez. Had to get very creative because there's just nothing but chalk. 8 of 11 fights are minus 300 or greater. We got minus 900s, minus 1,000. So I had to get creative to get our viewers some profit. And I found a decent little 3-fighter moneyline parlay that pays plus 109 that I think's rock solid. So, you know me, I'm anti-parlaying, but there's sometimes, again, where you got to get creative in the bets you place if you want action on the UFC this Saturday. So real quickly, I'll give those 3 picks that I'm tying up. It's Christian Leroy Duncan. He's about a -300, -320 favorite. Believe me, he's the knockout artist, and he's going against an opponent whose weakness is his chin. All his losses have come by knockout. As soon as Duncan lands a couple shots, that one's over. Next, Steve Urseg. Forget about it. Fighting Schnell, the BJJ black belt. We know what Schnell's weakness is. It's that submission. Once he gets him down, that one's over as well. And finally, Mokaev, the undefeated guy, 4 of his last 5 wins come by sub, and he's got an opponent in Perez who's great at offensive grappling, but not too good at defensive grappling. Look for Mokaev to get it done. So tie up Duncan, Urseg, and Mokaev in a 3-fighter parlay. You'll get plus 109. If you really want to go out on a limb, all 3 of those guys will win inside the distance, especially Urseg. Urseg wins that fight easily. Urseg wins inside the distance. I already bet both. That's probably the strongest play. But tie in Leroy Duncan and Mokaev to add some juice. And finally, in the main event, small sprinkle on Jairzinho Rozenstruik over Gaziv, Bottom line is this. You're paying for potential, not credentials. Gaziv should win this fight, but he shouldn't be a -150, 175 favorite, because in his last fight, he was the second fight on the undercard, meaning the event started. They had that first opening fight, which used to be on Facebook. You couldn't even watch it on TV. Well, his was the second fight. Guess what? Now he's in a main event. He's been thrust into a main event, and you're being charged the premium for it. It's not worth it. Rozenstruik, who's got no bad losses on that record, at plus money in heavyweights where there's randomness involved, I think it's an automatic small sprinkle. So bet the parlay to get plus 109, and then sprinkle a little something on that main event dog in case we, get lucky. Oh, and college basketball, under Dartmouth Yale, 132.5. It's the only college hoops I had.
I want to talk about the parlay here,
Please.
Gianni, because you're not a guy who plays a lot of parlays. I've heard you come on the show and talk about the guys who are playing the parlays in baseball when you're parlaying favorites, that's a bad opportunity. That's not something we want to look to do. But it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing here in UFC. Tell me why.
Correct. And I will not release this to my subscribers. This is not a play I would release as a premium play. This is to share information coming on the show with viewers where I think these are good spots. I have the bankroll to bet these straight up, but I'm not going to urge a guy with a $500,000 bankroll to go to the window and bet 3 big favorites like this, because one bad night puts them in a position where now they may chase. Now they may make mistakes. And my goal is always to protect my subscribers from those demons we have to fight each and every day. So I don't want to get them in any position where they could get into a hole by losing 3 bets that then they won't know how to get out of by grinding their way back. So in this spot, I won't release these to subscribers as a parlay because I don't think parlays are plus EV long term. But again, I want to share the information with you guys. And I got a little gamble in me. I'm not in this racket by accident. And I'm going to have a little ticket on the 3-fighter parlay as well.
Teddy,
that was
great question.
Follow-up.
Great.
Now you're back. Lawrence. Yeah.
It was. You want me to? You think I wasn't listening? You want me to repeat your question? Well, I thought it was an outstanding freaking question.
It was because I'm contradicting myself. You can't come over here and tell people don't parlay, and then you give a parlay as your best bet.
Right.
I love that's what you're supposed to do. I have so much respect for the man. I want him to call me out when I make a mistake. That's what you want from your friends. That kind of honesty is what I respect. And that's why I love guys like Teddy who are going to tell it like it is. They ain't going to bullshit you, tell you what you want to hear. Love it.
Okay,
Love
enough
it.
with the blow smoke up Teddy's ass routine.
Woo.
So Yale under is your position today in college basketball. What about NBA, NHL?
Are you under 132 so far in that game, under 132.5? That line's probably not there anymore since we've been pretty much the only college basketball bet that we placed so far. The only thing sticking out in the NBA, but it moved a little bit, was the Bulls at home as home dogs. A little sprinkle on the money line as well. It wasn't a big bet, but they took the +5 and a little sprinkle on the money line. But I've been very cautious, as I explained last week, with the NBA. This being aside, I'm a little more confident because we've seen what they're doing with the totals and the middles. But that's about it, man. It's one of those days where I just don't have a lot. And these are the kind of days where you have to have the discipline to pass, to not chase action, because you're giving up any edge you may have when you're betting negative EV stuff. Like, that's the one mistake most recreational bettors make. They're willing to, I'll put a little pizza money, as they say. Oh, I'll put a little. That's your profit. Like, you're wasting away your profit when you're placing bets like that. And it's so hard to win to begin with. So when it's a day where you just don't love, take a step back. There's always going to be more games, more opportunities, and better spots to risk your money in. You know, it takes a long time to get to that point where you could chill. But the sooner you get there, the better your long-term results will be, and the better you'll sleep.
And looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now, I'm seeing as high as 133 at DraftKings for Dartmouth. There are 132.5s still available across the board.
That's
there
good.
Are 131.5s at leading indicator books, which is
at the sharper shops
is likely to move. So just an FYI, you can get a good number right now that may not be there. Oh, I don't know, 10 minutes from now, for example.
Indeed.
Gianni, great stuff. Thank you for making me feel better about my loser last night, because I did something right on the show today. Appreciate it very much, my friend. Best of luck with your wagers all weekend.
Thank you, boys. Love you both. Best of luck this weekend. Do some damage, and I'll see you next week. Keep climbing, Bitcoin. Get Lawrence even richer than he is. That's what I want to see. Just want to see him even wealthier every week I see him.
Everybody wants to see that, Gianni. Everybody.
You as a billionaire would be the funnest thing. The funnest thing,
well,
I think.
Listen, I have billionaire blood running through me. Just not. I was not the brother that pulled that one off. But hey, I got a brother who's a billionaire, and you all know almost every product that he owns. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown. We're going to go to the association on Friday night, talk about the Kings and the Timberwolves. So this one should be a whole lot of fun. First, we want to let you guys know about the special promo offer we have right now. WagerTalk, sportsmemo.com. Use promo code ALLIN30. Again, promo code ALLIN30, and you get $75 a 30-day all-access pass. You can take advantage of that right now at WagerTalk or Sports Memo. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing mostly 6.5s out there, 224.5 with the T-Wolves favored over the Kings. Sacramento lost 3 in a row the first week of November. They did have one 4-game skid in mid-January. That came thanks to an overtime loss by a point at Milwaukee and then a 2-point blown lead loss at Phoenix. Other than that, the Kings haven't lost more than 2 in a row all season, and they're on a 2-game skid right now. They lost at home to Miami, and they lost at Denver to open up the road trip. Head coach Mike Brown wasn't too critical of his team after losing at Denver, but the post-game quotes, anytime you can go up against a team like that, you're going to take something away. The biggest thing is just the constant pressure that they put on you. And, of course, Sacramento beat Minnesota the first time around in Minnesota. 124-111 road victory in that contest. They're facing a T-Wolves team that's coming off a trio of relatively easy wins in the last week. They beat the Nets, they beat the Spurs, they beat the Grizzlies. They won 7 of the last 8. They're in first place in the West. But after feasting on the week, now it's kind of a step-up spot against a much stronger opponent. And this is a team, they've already matched their win total from last year. They're on pace for the best winning percentage in the franchise history. And the quotes coming out of the locker room, I'll just leave it at this. Not quite as hungry as the quotes I'm seeing out of Sacramento after those back-to-back losses. I'm expecting a battle here, not a blowout. Give me the Kings plus the 6.5 in Minnesota on Friday night. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Kings freaking killed me a couple of nights ago. Didn't show up. I hope they show up for you. Steve Merrill joining us, everyone. Steve, you never are the last guest on this show.
Except for last week.
And this week.
and likely next week.
It never
And
happens
actually,
except 7 days ago.
And moving forward, you will listen, dude.
I
I
like
mean,
this
we
spot.
had a great week of sports betting information, and we might as well end it with one of the best. So, my brother, let's get into it. NBA, Trailblazers, the little Blazers, and the Grizzlies. You got a total for us here. What is it?
Yeah, we talked about this on the NBA tip-off show a few nights ago. Recommend checking that out every Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock Eastern. I'll be back on the college basketball show at 2 o'clock Eastern, actually, so we'll have more college talk as well. But we had a really low total twice already this week. We had, I believe it was Brooklyn, Orlando. When was that? Maybe Monday. It was 210. It landed at 190. Still stayed under by 20 points. That was the lowest total of the season. And then Brian Power and Ralph Michaels mentioned that the 209 in that Timberwolves game the other night was the lowest total of the season. It landed 210, barely went over by like a point. And as I pointed out on that NBA show, is if you blindly play the lowest totals under, the highest totals over, it's done quite well in all sports for many years. The NBA overs worked well the last few seasons, but now everything is high scoring. So now we're looking to play the lowest totals under. And we know about the huge, run, the 10-1 under on Tuesday night on all NBA totals. That brought everything to 29-12, I believe, after the All-Star break for those first few days. Now we have another one of the lowest totals of the season. So I want to throw up a chart. Ralph Michaels ran this for me this morning. I just said blindly, Ralph, under 210 or less over the past couple seasons. And Ralph, of course, has always went above and beyond. But I want to point out a few things with this chart here. First of all, it's only the fifth time all season tonight we've had a total 210 or less. And by the way, it's sitting at 208 right now. We're talking about Portland, Memphis. Memphis, by far the worst offensive team in the NBA all season, especially now in current form. So it's only the fifth time, 2-2. But as I mentioned, the one the other night, the Minnesota game only went over by a basket. So it could easily be 3-1. And the opening line was 213. It would have been 3-1. Last year, only 16 times. But look down to 2015, almost 1,000 times we had a total of 210 or less. Now it's only the fifth time. And the other thing that jumps out to you, too, is if you blindly played the under most seasons under these low totals, you've made money. And Ralph ran a similar chart for me a couple years ago in baseball. I asked him for 6.5 or less. We all know 7 is a very key number in baseball. We don't see a lot of 6.5s. We're seeing more recently the last couple seasons. But 7 of the previous 8 years when he ran that for me 2 years ago on the blind, you had made money playing under 6.5 or less in baseball. It's a premise that continues to work. And Teddy, you and I have talked about this a lot. It's because the markets don't adjust enough for the lowest and highest totals in any sport. I like under tonight between Memphis and Portland. And thanks once again to Ralph Michaels. He posted this also on Twitter, so you can check it out later at Cal Sports LV.
So I certainly am not going to try to talk you out of the play. The chart makes a ton of sense when you look at it. It shows very clearly that playing the lowest totals under in the NBA has been a long-term positive expectation situation. However, let's see, the last 7 meetings between these two teams have all gone over this number. And in particular, Portland. They've just played in their last 6 games. New Orleans, Minnesota twice, Denver, Charlotte, Miami. All well above average defensive teams. Every one of those squads right now, even Charlotte of late. Does that worry you at all here that now maybe they're not facing quite as good a defensive squad tonight, and that's putting it mildly?
I think there's 2 ways to look at this. First of all, Portland's off, 9 straight losses now straight up. I think they've lost the last 7 ATS. So this is a winnable game for them finally, like you just mentioned. Focus spots, whether it's playoff games or a winnable game, even for a bad team, I think you get more defensive intensity. So I like that factor. And let's not discount how bad Memphis is offensively. I mean, as I said earlier, they're the dead last efficiency rated team in the league this season. They've been even worse here in recent months. They've been extremely shorthanded. Injuries. Morant remains out. So this is a really bad Memphis offensive team. They scored 95 or less in 2 of their last 3 games, 95 or less overall in 3 of their last 6. So, yes, Portland defensively has been suspect. Memphis has at times. But Memphis actually has been playing okay defense. Over their last 6 games, they have not allowed 50% or worse. And in the modern NBA, a lot of teams give up 50% on a night.
What happened there? This is Steve. The system froze. You iced the system. Keep
The
going,
Grizzlies
bro.
offense iced the system. And talking about Memphis and Portland for more than 3 minutes like we did, Teddy, iced the whole system. It's our fault.
True that.
Although this
Teddy,
game's not going to help in college hoops. Foreshadowing.
Okay, now I'm a little lost. Okay, how about we ask for some likes because we need 28 more if you guys want a daily presidential address. Happened to give you a 2-0 day yesterday, so I highly suggest. Steve, are we talking Marist and Fairfield now?
Why not? I mean, we
Go
got to
ahead.
follow that Portland-Memphis game with something a little bit better here in college hoops. Look, it's a light card in Friday in college hoops. If you want the big boy games, my top 25 video will be up later this evening on Friday for all the top 25 action on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll be talking the power schools here a little bit later tonight here on YouTube on WagerTalk TV. So hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts so you know when it goes live.
Steve.
Prez, you good?
Yeah, before we get into the Marist game, you mentioned if you want the big boy games. And yesterday we had a guy on the who commented after the show. We did an obscure college basketball game yesterday. And this guy was like, nobody wants to hear about this college basketball game. Does that make sense to either of you two that we need to discuss Duke, Kansas, or North Carolina? Because it makes no sense to me that, Marist versus, Fairfield, that is a betting opportunity. One that's probably greater than the Duke versus North Carolina betting opportunity. Do you care whether it's a big boy game? And I'd like to hear from all of you guys in the chat room on this exact topic, because if you want us to discuss the big boy game, we could throw a couple of those in, but it's not going to be as great a betting opportunity than discussing the games that we want to discuss, which might be, Canisius versus Canisius. So let me know your thoughts on that. Put it up after the show goes live. Because look, we can isolate the big boy games and take them apart, or we can give you what we think is the best possible bet that night. Steve, all you.
Yeah, first of all, comment below. That's Prez trying to pad the comments, which we do appreciate everybody
Yes.
commenting below, because we read the comments, we reply back, and we do want to know. This show is tailored to the viewers. If we had no viewers, we wouldn't be doing this. Teddy, Prez,
Right.
and I love to talk. We probably still talk to each other off air, but we do this for the viewers. So it's a good question. Do you want the big boy games? Look, there's two ways to look at it. I think most people watching want actionable info where they can make some bets. So that's why I'm using this smaller college game, because I do think there's an edge here. But it's also the reason I do the top 25 video. I don't always have a strong opinion in every top 25 game, but I like to give analysis which way I'm leaning, because those are high-profile national TV games on the weekend that people want to watch. So as everything in life, I think it's a balance. And I guess the ideal case is when you have a strong opinion on a big boy game, then you get the best of both worlds. And check out the college basketball tip-off show at 2 Eastern for some of that in my top 25 video. But one of the reasons I like this game tonight is I always look for here it's March 1st. February's over, but late February, early March, while we're still in conference season, we get all these second meeting revenge situations. And I always talk about revenge as basically an overrated handicapping factor, except in certain situations. And there's a few I look for. First of all, I like strong home courts. I like teams in focus spots, maybe off a loss or their opponents off a win where they're not as focused. And the most importantly, I like digging into the box score from the first meeting, because I love numbers. I love stats, as you guys know, and we get some actionable info from the first meeting. These teams played in Fairfield on January 7th, and Fairfield won by 21 points. It's just a 1.5-point favorite. They're up by 18.5, just blew Marist out. Look at the box score there. As is often the case, three-point shooting made a huge difference. Fairfield was plus 21 points from three-point range. They won by 21. In fact, Marist outshot them 17-15 from two-point range. And I think that's a more reliable indicator for the rematch here. I like Marist laying the short number for that reason. I also like the fact they're coming off a loss as a dog on the road. Now they're back home. And meanwhile, Fairfield will overlook them a little bit because they won easily by 21. They've also won 6 of the last 7 games, including 3 straight. Just won a home game easily, and they have their home finale coming up next week. So I think this is a little bit of a flat spot for Fairfield, and we get some value with Marist laying the 1. It's just something I look for in college basketball this time of the year. By the way, this game is on ESPNU, so you can actually watch it tonight. It is on national TV Something to keep in mind when you're handicapping that huge card on Saturday. These second revenge meetings can be very profitable if you find the right spots.
So the Stags started out the season, they lost their first 4 road games, straight up and against the spread, or first 4 games away from home. Since that time, beginning of December, they won straight up at Ryder. They won straight up at Yale. They won straight up at Sacred Heart. They won straight up at Fairleigh Dickinson. They won straight up at Siena. They won straight up at Canisius. They beat Manhattan. They won straight up at St. Peter's, and they won their last road game at Quinnipiac as well. So this is a team that all they've been doing for the last 3 months is winning games on the road. They're in a pick'em price here. You're really comfortable fading these guys?
Yeah, and don't forget, like I said, they beat Marist by 21 a month ago. So, yeah, it's never that easy, right? So that's what you have to look for here, situational. And because they've been winning so easy, they've won 6 of their last 7. They just won by 22. I think it's a little bit of a flat spot, and that's part of the handicap here. Another thing I'll point out about Marist real quick is they're a bad offensive team. They're in like the 300s in efficiency, but they're top 100 defensively. I like to play the weaker offensive teams at home a lot more than on the road, because one thing, road teams always shoot worse away from home. And when you're a bad offensive team, games can get away from you. And that's exactly what happened in January when they were down by 18 at the half. I look for a better shooting performance. I also look for a slower pace of play. Marist likes a half-court game, and home teams also dictate tempo normally. So several reasons I do like Marist minus the 1 tonight.
Steve frickin' Merrill. Let me guess. Number 1 in hoop sides over the last 2 years. Tell us what you got going for your clients.
Yeah, just because you're a smart-ass, Prez, I went back deeper. In the history of WagerTalk, I'm number 1 in NBA and college sides combined all time now, up over 190 units won.
Yes.
So that probably won't change by next week either. So you can set it and forget it when I'm on next Friday. We're going to still be number 1 most likely all time. And I say sides because we've already released 8 NBA or 10 NBA totals the last 2 seasons. I haven't had a college basketball total all year. So I'm not cherry picking. I do sides. Like 96% of my plays are sides in basketball. So I want people to be well aware of that. And by the way, NBA totals 8-2 the last 2 years. So the totals haven't done poorly. They've actually had a higher win percentage than the sides. There just aren't many of them. No matter how you cut it, it's been a fantastic basketball season, ranked number 1 again, just like we were the last 2 years, as you mentioned. In fact, overall at WagerTalk, no one's more units lifetime. So check it out. It is a great time. March is here. The March Madness special is available right now. Works up to less than $23 a week. No promo code needed. You can also get a college and pro basketball combo. If you're serious about making money, consider that 1-year all access. I've kept the promo code up again this week. It's an instant $800 discount. Works out to just over $1 a play for football, baseball, and basketball. Check it out along with the daily free plays. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
What a show. Steve Merrill, thanks for joining us. Shout out to Gianni and Andy Lang. Teddy, we did hit 100 likes, so it's time for your daily presidential address. Okay, guys, there's 3 NHL games on the card tonight. I'm passing with my clients, but I do have leans on all 3 of these, and I'm happy to give them out. I will tell you which one my favorite is out of the 3. Before we get into that, I just want to let everyone know, don't sleep on my college basketball. I've been saying this all year. I'm up over 40 units of profit in college basketball. I swept the board last night in college basketball. I'm on a 12-5 run, and I have a money line college basketball bet tonight. I am on a 50-22 money line run, but my college basketball money line bets on the entire year are unbelievable. 76%, and I have one tonight. They're very rare. I also have a total going and an NBA play. Okay. Arizona playing Ottawa tonight. Arizona played really, really good hockey last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're on the cusp of finally winning a game. I think they've lost 87 games in a row, give or take. I like the under in this game. Look, the Arizona team is just struggling to score. And that's ultimately their biggest problem right now. You know, you go down and you look at Arizona, and they haven't put up more than 3 goals in 9 straight games. They put up 2 in their last 2. And although Ottawa is not some defensive juggernaut, this is a team that's also not consistently scoring. I like under 6.5. As far as the Philadelphia-Washington game goes, I like the over in this game. I know it's counterintuitive. Washington and Philadelphia are both playing to the under all year, but neither of these teams are playing great defense lately. Detroit put 8 goals up on Washington in their last game, and Philadelphia allowed Pittsburgh to put up 7. So I'm looking at this game as 6 on tap. Philly has scored 6 by themselves 2 games in a row. I like the over in that game, and that is my favorite play of the 3. And I also like New Jersey and Anaheim to go over the total of 6.5. If I were to release one play, it would be the Philly-Washington over. I'm having a Mr. Sub today, Teddy. Great Canadian, extra bacon, very excited and bloody hungry. Take us home.
Is that Canadian bacon or is that your regular bacon?
Regular bacon. And we don't call it Canadian bacon here, just for the record.
Obviously. Yeah.
Well, what do we call it?
Back bacon?
P-meal.
Is it back bacon?
P-meal bacon. Back bacon, but very rarely. It's P-meal bacon. I hate it. Like, you like it? It's terrible.
This is what I know. The show's over. The week is over on WagerTalk Today. We'll do it again next week, every Monday through Friday, live, 9 a.m. on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and our next show on Monday, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers.